What's going on, everybody? My name is Nick.
Hey, I'm Dave.
And this is the Deep Dive, and you're switching things up on it now.
I thought I'd try something new.
I love it. Well, here we are. This is our Easter edition of the podcast, and we had a great Sunday. We're actually filming this on Tuesday, but just probably spend some time reflecting on what we did and also talk about the sermon. So
Yeah, though, like the whole week. I mean,
Yeah,
we had
the Holy Week, for
very
sure.
big Holy Week, as they call it. So let's talk about it.
yeah, we will.
Do we? I don't want to. Do we have sports updates on anything?
Yeah, well, that's actually what I was going to get to, Dave. We not only did Jesus raise from the dead this weekend, but also the Atlanta Braves
I saw that.
are raising up from what looked like death and despair. They've won 4 games in a row now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just totally ruined, and they're going to lose 4 straight, but cautiously optimistic I am.
Yeah, I mean, and if you really kind of look at the math on it, it's a long season.
Long season.
I think I've said that to comfort you in the past.
I know.
It's a very long season.
Yes.
So we'll see. And my Golden State Warriors won their first
NBA playoffs are
NBA
underway.
playoffs. So
Steph Curry dropping like 30 or something
31,
like that.
yeah.
Oh,
They
sorry.
did.
31.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Butler had 28. Yeah.
It's good times. Good times. And sports are underway, but
And we will keep you up to date on that each week.
that's right. We will let you know how we're feeling. Hopefully things continue to go good and we stay happy about that stuff. But
And your volleyball coaching is going on?
yeah,
You got
my
your
volleyball
teams?
coaching, I have such a both my teams are such cool groups of girls, like, and both teams are kind of in their different way. And I tell you, coaching volleyball has been just so much fun to see so much growth in such a short time, but also when one of the kids does something for the first time, like hitting it over the net with an overhand serve or something like that, there's just not many feelings like that. Like just to watch them like go from that spot of like, I can't do it, to like immense pride and stuff like that. It's really cool. I'm really enjoying that component of coaching.
And just think of those memories you are creating for those girls too, because I think we both can think back to our sports days playing Little League or, whatever.
Yep.
And, I have such great memories because they're just being on a team and, the highs and the lows and all of that. They create such great and lasting memories they'll carry with them. So
yeah,
good on you for doing that.
It's
you and
good
Rachel.
times.
Yeah.
And I really, this has been my first, I've done student coaching where I'd come beside a team or something like that. But this is my first real coaching experience, and I'm really enjoying it. It's been a really good time. But this is just part of what's going on in life. But we're here to talk about Easter. And Dave, we had a great Easter here at Hickory Flat.
We did. I mean, just starting with everything that was done.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a great Maundy Thursday service.
Mm-hmm.
Nice attendance for that. And, that was in its way very different, a little bit more formal maybe than our typical services, a little bit more blended, a little bit more modern. But that one, and I think people will really appreciate it. And of course, I wore a robe and all of that. And then Good Friday was a powerful time. As it always is, but Easter Sunday, we got to get to that because it was just, our attendance was off the chain.
Yeah, off the chain.
Yeah,
straight from 1995. No, I'm just joking.
All right, what would be an appropriate more?
It was lit.
It was lit. Lit. Whatever.
No, I'm just joking. That's hilarious.
Yeah, it was. We had great attendance, particularly at 9:00.
Yeah.
But a nice group of folks for the sunrise. Just shout out to everybody.
Yeah.
And there's so many volunteers, so many people just kind of doing stuff behind the scenes. I mean, just like our hospitality area with all the goodies and the way it was set up. I mean, that took some time and some effort. And so very much appreciated, I think, by everybody. And
Yeah. I mean, there was coffee on tap all morning, goodies provided. You know, we got a lot of it from Publix, but people like Jeanette and Sarah shutting it up and putting it out. And, you know, every greeter at the door, every person who helped out in music or production.
Sanctuary looked beautiful.
Yeah,
and just the way that it had been decorated and flowers had been placed. But just, I know that there's some extra cleaning that went on to get everything ready. So there was a lot of care taken in that. And I greatly appreciate it as a pastor. And I know that the folks that we welcomed here on Sunday, took notice of that. And so that's good.
And not to mention the fun Easter egg hunt out back.
I was going
a
to
lot
talk
of
to you about
volunteers there. But just the kids out there and the smiles. And, you know, I always like to go around and start asking kids, all right, what's your strategy? Where are you going first? And, you know, some of the kids are like, I'm running to the back. And some of the kids are like, everybody else runs to the back. So I just go for the stuff right in front of me. And, you know, just mounds of eggs were put out and kids were bringing back so much.
Teresa was telling me that I didn't make it down there this year. And so, but and for those of us who didn't, we will do a recap video on this coming up Sunday. So I look forward to seeing it. There were drones. They had drones out there doing that thing. But Teresa said there were like some big eggs that had like multiple candies in it.
There were some big eggs that had like some stuffed animals.
They were on the far side.
Yep.
And like she said, she saw the kids like making a beeline out there and like basically stepping on eggs, getting out there to it. And then she realized what was going on.
Special stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and
there was a point where, Nick Boker challenged me to an egg off where, you know, who would get the most eggs, egg for egg. And I just went straight for some of the youth that had a bag and I tried to get their bags, but they didn't do it. So
that strategy did not pay off.
It did not, but I thought it was a good one, you know, because they had been hunting for a while. So if I got their bag, then I'd have been ahead.
So if I'm following this, you were literally going to be taking candy from a baby.
No, a teenager. Yeah. I wasn't going for the little ones.
Okay.
For the youth, you know, like Elijah or something. Yeah, I was trying to steal their stuff.
Okay. All right.
No, but it was a good time. The children's ministry really put a lot of effort into it, and it was just fun. It was good. It's always so much joy and time to see these kids smiling and looking at what they got, but then also throwing the toy. You know, they had some games and stuff out there, so throwing stuff like that, and it was just good times.
So and it was really lovely in the church and the sanctuary. Everybody just seemed to have a smile on their face. Mm-hmm. It was a great Easter.
A lot to be excited about.
Easter music was beautiful. All the music ministry folks did a great job. I thought the addition of the trumpet was a nice touch. And
shout out Mike.
So Mike, y'all on the trumpet, that was great. But having a full band and great choir and great worship team, so awesome. So, but let's talk about the service itself. Or the sermon.
The real reason we were all there and why it was a big celebration, right?
Well, was not just the sermon, but to celebrate Easter together, and we did, and all of that other stuff does that.
Part of that celebration,
all of the fellowship, all of the even the things down to the all of that is in celebration of the big event.
Yeah, and
what is central to our faith in the resurrection of Jesus, and so. My sermon, I was looked at, I did 2 sermons on Sunday, and there was a little bit of overlap. I used a couple of the same stories, but pretty much they were different. And one of them was John's gospel, and one was Matthew's gospels. And they tell the stories, the same story, but they have a little bit of a different emphasis on it, perspective on it. The characters are a little bit different in each of those. So looking at the John's Gospel, and this is where I kind of started with the sunrise service, because it starts out, in the first line of the Gospel, talking about it, on that Sunday while it was still dark. Mm-hmm. And so, Mary Magdalene go into the tomb while it was still dark. And I don't know why that stood out to me this year to sort of zero in on that. But it really became a theme for both services in a way that we sometimes associate Easter with the sunrise and the tomb, kind of like magically opening at sunrise. But the truth is, while it was still dark, the stone was rolled away, the grave clothes were folded up. The resurrection took place in the night, in the dark. And I do think there's something significant about that, because of the darkness in life sometimes that we can go through with our lives. And even in the happiness and joy that was there on Sunday morning, looking around the room. I mean, I saw several people. This was the first Easter without their parent that had passed away, or their friend, or their spouse in some cases. And so they're coming, as Mary and the women were, to the tomb, or coming into Easter, carrying this grief.
Yeah.
And so, of course, we as followers of Jesus know about the resurrection, but at the time that they are going to the tomb, they don't know about the resurrection. They're just going there in their grief, the women there, to attend to his body, to make sure he gets a proper burial.
Right.
And so I just think there's something deep there, that God is at work, even in the dark, even in the night and the darkness that may be covering us. God is still at work. Things are happening, even though we not be able to sometimes see them.
Yeah,
they're there just the same. And so and I shared a story, and maybe you have a similar experience, but because I can remember back in youth group, going to a retreat area I'd never been to with a group of kids, and getting there after dark, and not knowing where everything was and like that. But I shared, because this happened to me just a month or two ago, went up into the mountains, actually near Cherry Log, and we had a cabin up there, and the GPS, first of all, kind of quit working, but I was pretty much there, knew where I was going, knew the address, but it was at night.
Yeah.
And by the time I got there, and it was dark, and you couldn't really see. And,
the roads start feeling scarier.
Those mountain roads at night. And so you're getting in there and going into a house you've never been into, trying to figure out where the light switches are. And, and so kind of get there to, go to bed or whatever, get your stuff all loaded in. And then you get up the next morning, and the dawn is breaking, and you begin to see everything around you, and just how beautiful it is.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. All of that was there, even in the dark. All of that was present. And so, we just couldn't see it because of the darkness. And I think there's something there about the resurrection story, that God is at work redeeming, transforming, resurrecting, even in the dark when we can't see it. Yeah. And, when we're able to see it, just how joyous and beautiful it is.
Yeah, I really think that's such a good illustration, because I kind of think about times when life has felt really tough for me. It's hard to see kind of all of the pieces around you at that point, because you get so almost narrowly focused on the things that are happening bad, that you're not looking for maybe the good pieces here and there, because you're so locked in. And I think those mountain roads are perfect examples. It's like there's so much more space, because I always get nervous going up on those mountain roads that you can't fully see over the side or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
They don't necessarily have the guardrails and stuff like that, but it just I know that that's a pretty far drop, but until you drive it in the day and you're like, oh, there's actually plenty of room on this road. It doesn't feel as nervous and scary and stuff like that. But right. I think we do find ourselves in these spaces where it's just right there in front of us, and what's beyond that feels scary, but we're not sure how to handle those things sometimes.
Right. Yeah. And so in the second text that I read, the Matthew text, one of the key things that I kind of centered in on was these words that came from the two men. We call them angels. They say two men clothed in white. Sounds like angels to me.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're specifically called angels in Matthew. But the two men that are there, they said, remember what he said while he was still with us, that the Son of Man was to be delivered over to sinners and crucified, but he would rise again. So they remember that. And then the next verse says, and then they remembered. And so there's something about the memory that it doesn't take. the resurrection does not take the pain of the cross away.
Right.
The pain is still there. It transforms it into something new.
Yeah.
And so, and part of the way that we get to there is in, I think, remembering and in the memory. And to your point, we were talking about like when you're trying to navigate life, I think sometimes if we can take a breath and remember how God has been with us in the past.
Yeah.
And that it will be okay.
Yeah.
You know, he is risen. It'll be okay.
It'll be okay.
Everything's going to be okay.
Yeah, that's a little backstory to just that statement is we were getting prepped for a staff meeting, and before our staff meeting, they have a worship planning meeting, and Bob Cox, which is one of our just most dedicated, faithful volunteers, and he was talking about his granddaughter.
Yeah.
They were watching the service at home, but he played a little audio clip of his granddaughter praying.
Yeah, she asked to do the prayer.
Yeah. And that was what she ended with, is like, thank you for like the resurrection because it'll be okay, or something like that.
Because I had used it. I actually got a text from a friend on Sunday morning, and he said that he is risen. Everything's going to be okay.
Yeah. But the beautiful thing,
but she was listening.
Yeah.
And she quoted that back in the prayer. So that's why Bob played it. Yeah,
but also the beautiful thing about that is like, how cool is it it just reminds you of that like childlike faith piece of like, she probably has the utmost confidence in that. And I think sometimes we as Christians, we say that we have that kind of confidence, but we don't always feel that kind of confidence in that statement. You know what I mean? But the resurrection is proof that God can conquer all things, nothing is above him. And it reminds that we should have almost that simplistic part of that faith too, is like, it'll be okay.
And so, but one thing that I tried to emphasize on Sunday morning, I'd love to emphasize again to anybody listening to this, is that, that statement that the resurrection doesn't necessarily take the pain of the cross away. And so realizing that people came on Sunday morning, and people even today, we're at different places.
Yeah.
I was really down yesterday because I always have this sort of post Easter slump. But, we go through highs and lows in our life. I'm feeling pretty good today.
Yeah.
Because I've been with people, and we've been celebrating what happened this weekend. But like, not everybody's in the same place.
Yeah.
And so people might come into a service on Sunday morning, or people may be listening to this at home today, and like, you're just not feeling it. You're not feeling it celebrated because of what life has thrown at you. And so that's okay. God meets us where we are with this good news of the resurrection. And then we kind of have to live it out. The disciples, when they heard the news, the women went home and shared the good news that Jesus is risen. They didn't believe them. They said the words, and the scripture says the words seemed like nonsense to them. Yeah. And so to some people, these words might seem like nonsense because can't see it. They're not in the place. It's still dark. The dawn is not come up yet, So, but to realize that the resurrection has happened, and healing will come, and God will be with us on that journey wherever we find it. And our eyes are open to see it. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's so good, and I think that's such a strong thing to take with us and to remember. And the beautiful thing too is that Jesus coming back was not the end of the story.
Yeah.
There's still so much to the story, and for him, but also for us. How do we live out our faith after that?
Right.
And, how do we keep
and we'll get into that this Sunday and in the next series. But but this idea of of where God meets us on the journey. One thing about the Easter story is we often I end it right after the women have that's where the text usually ends on Easter Sunday. But there's more to that Easter Sunday that goes on. As people are one by one coming to this knowledge and this realization of the resurrection. The disciples, Jesus appears to the disciples, all of them except Thomas. And so they all believe now. And then they told Thomas, and even these people who have been eyewitnesses now to it, he says, I won't believe. I still got doubts.
And low key, I would have been right there with him.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there's two people there's a other part of the story. This is another gospel, but they're walking to this town called Emmaus, and Jesus comes up, the resurrected Christ, right beside them, walks along with them, and they don't recognize him. They don't because of their, it says their eyes were prevented from seeing him. But what prevents us sometimes from seeing is our own grief, the own darkness, the cloud that we might be in. Sometimes we can't see. And it was in the breaking of the bread, later that night at the meal that they saw him and recognized him. And so, if you're not quite there yet, just keep the faith and stay on the journey, and you'll find it, and know that in community is a place where we can kind of lean on one another, because we're all at different places at different times.
Yep.
Sometimes I'm weak, sometimes I'm strong, sometimes you're weak, sometimes you're strong.
Yep. And
we can lean on one another in those places. And, if we're both weak at the same time, we can cry together.
That's right. Somebody else going to have to come pick us up.
Yeah, but that's part of how the church works. And it's a lovely and amazing thing.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Dave. And, as we are kind of wrapping up here, what's coming next?
Yeah. So, you mentioned like the Easter is not the end of the story, and it's not.
Yeah.
And so we jump right into a lot of things that are coming up right away. And one of those, I think, is just, we've never, I don't know, if, at least in my time here, have had confirmation like right after Easter. I think it's a great time, because it is part of the next kind of part of the story to remind us that it just doesn't end with that.
Right.
And so we've got confirmation. You've been working with them very closely. I taught them 1 week, but you've been, tell us about the class.
Confirmation
class.
We have a group of 8 kids that are going through confirmation, and it's just they're such a solid group of kids. I mean, they're funny, they're intelligent, they're primed to be like a really cool group of kids. Like, they
already are, and all those families are very solid and very involved in the church. So, so this week we will be celebrating that this place in their place where they're going to be publicly stating for themselves their profession of Jesus Christ and the promises that were made at their baptism, and making a commitment to be faithful church members with their prayers, presence, gifts, and service. And that's a great reminder to all of us. I'm going to talk a little bit about that in that great Wesleyan term, sanctifying grace, going on to perfection. Because it's not just like confirmation is not graduation and suddenly it's over.
Correct.
We continue to grow. We continue to have ups and downs on our spiritual journey. It just doesn't end with salvation, or it doesn't end with confirmation, but it continues to grow as we grow up and become mature believers in Christ. And so that's kind of where we're headed this week. And then just the month of May, oh my gosh, we've got Mother's Day in May. We've got a Graduate Sunday in May. We got at least one baptism scheduled in May. I've got a message series. I won't talk about it today. I'll talk about it next week. We'll plug it for next week. But I got a May sermon series that I'm real excited about preaching. And so I can't believe we're here again, and then the school year is going to be over.
I feel like we just started the year.
Jumping into the summer stuff.
Yeah, about to get midway in. So.
Yeah. But, we're just going to, the momentum that we've been gathering and got a big burst during Easter, I think it's going to continue on. So
it'll be good. It'll be good. We're excited, but thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for being a part of the journey here with us. And if there's anything that we can pray for you about, or anything you have questions about, let us know. You can either shoot us emails if you want to be private, or on our Facebook and our YouTube. You can drop it in the comments section below, and we'll catch it there. But without any further ado, guys, we'll catch you next time.
Is that your sign off now?
Can be. Or see you later. Or catch you on the flip side.
All right. Or how about just God bless everybody. See you next time. Bye-bye.